Hey everyone, welcome back to 996. The Howl Utah Mammoth win 3-1 against the Ottawa Senators, their first ever win against the Ottawa Senators. But before we get into the game, unexpected announcement of a winter classic in Utah. This blindsided me. I had no idea. Maybe I'm not tuned in as well as I should be, but I didn't hear anything about this until about a day or two ago. Then all of a sudden it gets announced, the backdrop, the landscape, the cinematic of the mountains surrounding that football stadium. Unbelievable. It's going to be so great for the state of Utah. Maybe we'll see where life takes me by January next year, but that would be an awesome event to attend. Love that's going back to a wintry climate as opposed to most recently in Florida. Let's get into the game. Kevin Stenland out of the lineup. He's sick, so Yamamoto draws in a new fourth line of Yamamoto, Tanev, and Kerfoot. The crowd rallying behind that announcement. As soon as the puck dropped, this crowd was loud. This crowd was into it all game. Loving that. It's a 7-game homestand. Utah needs to win at least 5. Thankfully, they started off on the right foot, sort of, but yeah, the crowd was really into it early. Ottawa had a lot of pressure, I feel like, the first 2 or 3 minutes, but they didn't generate any shots on goal from that pressure before Utah grabs the first goal of the game. It's Lawson Krause from Keller and Sergachev. Great job by Keller. He tries to do a sneaky short side high shot from a really bad angle. He misses, but he gets the rebound and he attacks the net on a wraparound. And on that wraparound attempt, it finds Krause in the slot, stick on the ice, doesn't make a mistake, and Utah's up 1-0. And then the next time that first line comes back out, they score again. It's John Marino making it 2-0. Now, the broadcast said this was a purposeful play. We'll see about that. But Keller takes a slap shot from the point, pretty much the blue line, and purposely misses a net. It rebounds off the backboards, and Marino has an open net. And again, doesn't make a mistake. Just pure 100% execution. Nate Schmidt gets the other assist. So Utah's up 2-0 pretty early in the game, about 8 minutes into the game. That first line was generating a lot of the offensive pressure for Utah. The Keller, Schmaltz, Krause line. After going up 2-0, it looks like Ottawa scores. There's chaos in the crease of Vejmelka, and Vejmelka's out of position. There's an Ottawa player literally on the red line, the goal line, right next to Vejmelka, and Ottawa has an open net, and the Ottawa player shoots it, but his own player makes the save, denying the sure goal because Vejmelka was way out of position. I'm sure if they reviewed it, maybe they'd call goaltender interference, but it did sort of look like Utah pushed the player into the crease, but thankfully the Ottawa player denies a goal. So it's still 2-0 Utah. 10 minutes in, I felt like the second line was a bit quiet. Gunther, Peterka, Hayden, compared to that Rangers game where Gunther was unbelievable. That line was so fast, so north-south. You didn't see any of that in the first period, and pretty much the whole game, I felt like the second line really didn't come out to play. And again, that's why I was so surprised by how that second line performed against the Rangers. Like, they need to make that how they played more consistent game in and game out, because again, we see the inconsistency of one line looking like world beaters one game, and then the next game they don't play to that style at all. But Ottawa keeping the pressure up after going down 2-0. They hit a post. It's in the offensive zone. An Ottawa player comes down from the blue line. No one really contesting him. He gets a clean shot and hits the post. Ottawa having threatening offensive shifts, and the pressure was mounting a lot for Ottawa until they finally scored to make it 2-1, 2 minutes left in the first period. It was a rebound in the crease off of Melka's pad. A defensive player can't box that Ottawa player out, and they put it into the net to make it 2-1. So we go into the second period, Utah with the lead. They outshot Ottawa 9-7. I thought the first 10 minutes of the first was great and pretty much excellent, but the second half, the last 10 minutes, not good at all. They didn't match that intensity. And again, that consistent inconsistency rears its head for the Utah Mammoth. So hopefully the second period is better. And this was one of the worst periods I've watched, not because of Utah's play. albeit it was pretty bad, but I just hate all these penalties. I hate when the game is not played 5-on-5. There was only 10 minutes of this second period played 5-on-5. Sorry. So I love 5-on-5. That's the game of hockey. That's what the playoffs are about. You will never see this in the playoffs where there's like 4 or 5 penalties called in a period. But let's get into it. 30 seconds into it, Utah gets a power play. On that power play, Schmaltz is all alone, uncovered, and he goes for a deke, but he gets denied, and then it's Utah's turn to kill a penalty. They kill it off, and then Utah goes back on the power play, and obviously they don't score. The power play was 0 for 4 tonight on the power play. Again, chances are being handed to them on a silver platter with these power play opportunities, and they're just not scoring on them, and they're not even pretty much generating momentum to build off these power plays. Utah was outshot 11-2, 12 minutes into the second period. It seemed like Ottawa was way better on their power plays compared to Utah, because Utah had 2 power plays starting the second period, and they only had 2 shots on net, and Ottawa with 1 power play, and they had 11 shots on net. Vejmelka has to make a huge save on an Ottawa player streaking in alone. Vejmelka was unbelievable this game. There's only so many thumbnails and video titles I can make praising Vejmelka, so I went with another player to praise for this video. So after Vejmelka makes that huge save, Utah goes back on the penalty kill. They kill it off, and right when that penalty expires, Sergachev with an unbelievable breakout through pass from pretty much the beginning of the neutral zone finds Gunther in the offensive blue line, streaks in. He couldn't really handle the pass. It was bobbling on him, but he does manage to get a shot off, but he's denied on a breakaway. And then Ottawa comes back the other way on a 2-on-1, and Nate Schmidt with an unbelievable defensive play. He sort of slides, goes on his belly to block the 2-on-1, but then he also does a sort of windmill or helicopter to deny it a second time. So great defensive instincts by Nate Schmidt there. There's a post by Ottawa late in the second period, and then in the last minute of the second, Ottawa missing me up here. And Utah gets a power play, 1 minute left in the second, and they commit a penalty in that 1 minute left power play. Nick Schmaltz tries to enter the offensive zone, and he high sticks a player. So then it goes 4-on-4 for the last 30 seconds of the second. So heading into the third, Utah still up 2-1. It was just a mishmash of a period. Just burn the tape of the second period and move on. Utah was outshot 15-5 in the second, but get this, 5-on-5, the shots were 3-3. So Ottawa had 12 shots not playing 5-on-5. There was a lot of power plays, a lot of penalty kills, a lot of 4-on-4 that Ottawa got a lot of shots on, whereas Utah Utah had 2 or 3 power plays in the second and only had 2 non-5-on-5 shots. So obviously Ottawa getting more shots on their power play. So we go into the third. Utah is 12-1-1 heading into the third period with a lead. Now they can say they're 13-1-1. So that gave me some confidence. I really disliked that second period. So we go into the third period. It's all even, 5-on-5. Ottawa was the better team in that short 4-on-4 couple of minutes. And also they had a very abbreviated power play to start the third, like 40 seconds, and they looked pretty good as well. Ottawa has a breakaway, and Vejmelka has to deny a breakaway, a huge save at a huge moment to keep the game at 2-1. Utah had 0 shots on net for the first 5.5 minutes of the third before they get their first shot on goal, and it becomes a goal. It's Daniel Boot. There is bedlam in front of the crease of Ottawa. Tanev takes the puck to the net on a wraparound. The Ottawa goalie's on his belly. Boot is at the side of the net just digging away. And you see on the broadcast, the puck just trickles past the goal line. They review it and they call it a good goal. So unbelievable job by the line of Boot and Tanev to score. McBain also got an assist there. So Utah's up 3-1. Ottawa does challenge the goal and they fail the challenge. So Utah goes back on the power play, and instead of scoring, like they didn't even look good on this power play. It was pretty much just a clock kill, just killing off 2 minutes off the clock with the lead. That's pretty much what the power play was. Utah committed to defense for the rest of the game, up 3-1. There was a nice Kraus chance. He was all alone, but he gets denied. And the Utah Mammoth hold on to win 3-1 in regulation against the Ottawa Senators. Overall, Utah was outshot 33-21, but again, 5-on-5, Utah outshot Ottawa 19-17. So Ottawa really capitalizing on their chances, on their power plays with a lot of shots, a lot of pressure compared to Utah, but Utah ends up with the win. Power plays 0 for 4, PK 3 for 3, and faceoffs 41%. Utah's right there in the mix for the wild card spot. They're 1 point behind the second wild card spot and 2 points behind wild card spot number 1. There's about 7 teams battling it out for the playoffs. You got the 3 California teams. You got Utah in there, obviously, and Chicago, Nashville, St. Louis. They're pretty much all in the mix, and Utah's got a huge game against St. Louis coming up. They could really increase that gap against St. Louis. Every game on the 7-game homestand is pretty much a must win. So hopefully they continue it. They need to play a bit better. They were a bit inconsistent against Ottawa, but there was brief moments of excellence, especially the first 10 minutes of the game and even the last 10 minutes of the game. I thought Utah played really well, but it was a good defending game. Vejmelka stood on his head. He leads the league and wins in the NHL. And great for Daniel Boot making an impact on the game. One of his most impactful goals of his career so far. It's not a game-winning goal, but it's as close as you can get to a game-winning goal without actually scoring the game-winning goal. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. If you're feeling generous, consider a super chat. And as always, thank you for your support.